Oh, hey guys, what are you doing? All right, well, you know what? Since you guys are here, why don't you come on out? I'll show you a little trick. Hey, all right. So, what I wanted to give you a little tidbit on was I'm working on restoring this little toy chest bench for my son. We picked it up off of someone else for like 20-30 bucks. Sometimes it's easier just to buy an old project and restore it than it is to go all out and make a new one, especially if my son's going to beat it up or it's not going to last as long as I would want it to. So with that being said, there was one thing I wanted a caveat on. So while I was cleaning this up, I actually had a friend of ours hit us up and she had asked a question. Shout out to Kristen, thank you, inspiring me to make this video for some others. The sanding down and getting rid of the finish to help prep it and get this nasty color off, to bring it back to a fresh start, to restain it, recolor it, what have you. And what she had mentioned is the best process to go about it. And I think that's one thing I wanted to bring to your attention, because the most common way to look at it and the fastest thing is grabbing a sander and starting to sand it down and getting this down. And yes, 100% it works. It is the quickest way you would assume to just go about it, and there's nothing wrong with it. And I'm not saying what I'm going to show you today is the right way, but it's a way that I've have used in the past, learned, and I don't always use it myself either. Sometimes I'm a little just quick to just start sanding, but so I did an example for her on this, and I did it on this particular piece here on the front, and it yielded some pretty good results. And I thought it was interesting to show using the chemical to strip the clear coat off, which is probably a shellac, which is pretty standard on older furnitures. But even if it's a polyurethane or a lacquer, what it's going to do is it's going to melt that off essentially, and then you're going to get it off. Well, the process of not just applying, but removing it once you get it wet and it kind of eats away at that shellac, that's what we're going to go over, the process of getting it off. Keep in mind, it's not going to take the stain out. It's not going to happen. Either way of how you do it, at some point you're going to have to sand. You can't get around it. Sanding is inevitable. So we're going to take the varnish off, but the thing that we're going to see is when we take that clear coat varnish, shellac, whatever, is, yeah, I use the scraper here, and then the scraper did good, and it like gums up, and it comes off thick and heavy. Yeah, sure. But there's still a lot of heavy spots, so it worked, but it didn't, at least to the extent of leaving a lot of varnish there. So the other spot, when I did this middle section, I applied it with a Scotch Brillo pad, and using that, it really worked its way in there better. And that's what we're going to show you in real time when I go to do it. It takes all that off. It's still going to have the dark stain color that's there. It's not going to leave behind some of the actual clear coat. For some reason, this just gets in there and pulls it out better and really gets it out. This scrapes it off and gums, but it still misses it, and I don't know why. You know, someone else could tell me why. All I can tell you is this works better than a scraper. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and reset up here, and then we're going to show you pouring it on there, and we're going to watch it do its thing. We're going to see the difference, because the other thing we're going to notice is when I run a sander across the two, these were sanded at the same time. Same speed, same thing, going about 1 inch per second, taking our time sanding. And this was the result of the two after that process. So it was clear and evident, and that's what I want to show you. Give you an example. Here we go. All right, so I got it set up. I still have the whole back of this to do, and that's the one we're going to do. What I laid out here is to kind of go over two things. It is a very harsh and potent chemical. It's denatured alcohol. Breathing it in a lot is definitely going to mess with you. It's not good for you, so go get a respirator. They're good for you. If you're going to be standing over a project for a long period of time, you're definitely going to probably want to cover up your eyes too, because the fumes are probably going to get to you. So just take the precautions, wear the right stuff. Gloves, this is going to clearly get all over your hands. It's going to dry your hands out a lot. So definitely put gloves on. I'm not going to wear a respirator, not in this video, because I'm going to take that risk for you so you can hear me speak and I can talk through what's going on and what I'm doing. But it's going to be very short. It's ventilated in here pretty good, so I don't have a very big concern. It's going to be quick. So let's go ahead and put a couple things on there and we're going to show you what's going on. All right, so I taped off 4 sections. I'm going to be using these 2 squares for a Brillo pad for a scraper. I'm going to leave these 2 as a controlled, so you can see the original sides directly next to the comparison of its original with the shellac on it, with the stain. You're going to see that, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to sand these up and see what happens with the same distance and time frame of pass, and we'll see which results a better yield in the end. One thing I'm going to mention is trying to apply the denatured alcohol with a rag. I wouldn't dump it on there. It's very low in its viscosity. It's very quick. It's like water or less. It's going to go everywhere. It's very sporadic. So don't think you're going to dump it on there and take your time. It's going to run off and make a huge mess. Soak it in a rag or something. Use the rag to wash and apply the best you can. Or, dumping a little in there when you're going to do it isn't too bad either. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and, again, we're damping it on there pretty good. Nice and soppy wet. Good. Let's go ahead and get this one soppy wet. Be generous. Really get it on there. Keep it wet in the process of getting it off, right? Because it's going to be all wet and gooey. So that's what I want to do. Really sop it on there good. We'll leave that one off. All right, so we're going to go ahead and it's doing its thing. Before, what I did was I actually let it do like a good process of a first wipe on and then really get it, because the chemicals are going to eat that surface off. I really want to let it do its job because it's already starting to dry. It's like alcohol. I mean, it is. So it's going to dry quick. So let's go ahead and scrape. You can see it's gumming up. It's getting it off. Yeah, there we go. Look, it gums it off real good. That's the other thing. When you use a scraper, it gums it off pretty good. I'll give it that. It gums off good, right? So it gummed off nice. Okay, so it's drying up, right? All right, let's keep this side wet. Get this wet. Okay. I like to go with the grain, so if you can, for the most part, go with the grain. Scrubbing. All right, so we gummed it up pretty good. I'll go back with just the wet rag and just kind of wipe off any excess that should be on there. See if we can get any of the broken up surfaces off. Man, that is very potent. Holy cow. I wish I should have worn a respirator. Golly. But I'm not standing directly over it, but I am getting passive fumes, and that's still a lot. Okay. Let's let it dry, and then once it's dry, we're going to run that sander over it, and we're going to see the difference. And then I'm going to bring you down here so you can see the sheen as far as that shellac, that clear coat, varnish, what have you, that it's gone. All right, so here we are. Here's the scrape side. It's very sporadic in its ability to scrape and grab. You can see the sheen here versus what's left over there. Now here's the Brillo pad versus that sheen over there for the finish. So we can really see the difference, right? So you see the difference between the two processes there. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and reset you back up, and we're gonna sand across these and see the difference of how good it comes out. All right, I got the blue tape out of my way. I'm gonna go ahead and sand this bottom portion here. Oh, turn that on first. All right, and right there, that's exactly what I was looking for to show you guys. You can see there's dark contrast that's left here in the sides. And that was one of these humps here that was left from the scraper, because the wood in the scraper is level and good as your scraper may be. There just may be an imperfection in the wood that it may not get to. And I think that Brillo pad really just helps meet the natural curves or whatever's left in this wood, allowing it to come off fast. And take a look here. We hit these ends with that sander, with the varnish, clear coat, shellac, whatever was on here, really did anything. Look how fast that one came off. It works on a big surface, and it may feel more satisfying to scrape it off, but in the long run, I just think it's a waste of time. Just start out and just go straight to the Brillo pad. Don't waste your time with anything else, because it's a clear indicator of how good it is. There you go. There's your two sides. Like I told you, sanding is going to be inevitable regardless of what you intend to do to refurbish, refinish, take it all off, and do whatever process you're trying to do. Ultimately, you're going to have to sand regardless. You're not going to get the colors out. So keep that in mind. But I'll go ahead and finish this out and I'll actually show you the end result. Here's a little tip for you. If you're sanding a large surface and you want to ensure you're hitting every spot, this is a way to keep yourself on track for where you sand and where you still need to sand. Take a pencil and you're just going to draw all over your project. This is going to ensure you see where you sanded and keep you moving at a equal sanding rate and not taking away too much. As it goes away, that's how you're keeping track of yourself. Your whole project. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter, because the goal is we're going to sand these lines out gently, and that's when we know we've hit enough. One other thing, when we're sanding, keep in mind the speed at which we sand. We want to travel 1 inch of distance per second. So 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000. Somewhere right around there should feel about right, okay? Some of the lines are still faint, and that's okay, because what I'm doing is I'm gently taking away material. I don't want to rush. I can see where my patterns are at, and I'm judging how I see these fade off, where I need to stay at. So this is what you're looking for, and then once it starts to fade away, you know that that strip's done. I still have something to clean up here, and that's what I'm saying. This is going to help manage where you still need to sand and how you're doing. I know I didn't take as much material as I did right there, so I need to work away from here. I need to slow here. Maybe I need to slow my speed down and make sure we got some good sandpaper. This one's a little outdated. We're actually going to change this out now. But there you go. There's a little tip.